I shot 6 people. Well, they weren't real people.
What Mr. Lewis means is he shot 6 robots, scientifically programmed to look, act, talk, and even bleed just like humans do. Now, isn't that right?
Well, they may have been robots.
Contact us today, or see your travel agent. Boy, have we got a vacation for you.
Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I want to tell you about the best sci-fi movies you can currently watch on Amazon Prime. All the way at the back of this list, and this shows you how good this list actually is Mars Attacks by Tim Burton. Now this one I did not really like when it came out, but that's only because I was too young when it came out to really get what this movie was doing. But this movie has so much fun with classic, campy sci-fi tropes. It plays with all of them. Some of them it just gives you as like fan service, and then others it completely subverts and just flips on their head. This really is a great sci-fi comedy movie for people who love movies. Now I know what you're thinking, everybody loves movies. I mean people that really, really pay attention and just love genre flicks. This one just, like I said, it does so many cool little things that you don't get genuinely with other movies. Sometimes they're accidental. Here, everything's done on purpose, and it's really, really smart. A classic sci-fi movie starring Charlton Heston is The Omega Man. Now this is a loose remake of a old classic Vincent Price movie, and actually I Am Legend with Will Smith is a pseudo remake of this, a very indirect remake. Charlton Heston is, as far as he knows, the last man on Earth. And the thing I really remember from watching this one the first time I saw it is just how much it changes as you're watching it. It just really progresses and becomes this different story, and it evolves fairly rapidly throughout, leaving you with something very, very different from what you started with. And it's always left an impression on me. My very first viewing has left an impression on me, and very seldom do movies do that, where the first time you see it, it leaves a mark. This one certainly falls into that category for me. A really wild, bloody adventure that I would have loved to have recommended to you back during Halloween only just recently got added, and that's Dog Soldiers. Now this one is a werewolf movie, and it is intense. It is about a group of soldiers held up in a house out in the woods. The story works, it's not bad. A lot of practical effects, crazy looking werewolves, low budget, but incredible action, a lot of shooting, a lot of blood, a lot of biting, and again, fairly well told story on top of all that. So if you're into that sort of a movie, Dog Soldiers is a great watch. If you've never seen it, do yourself a favor and watch it maybe first off of this list. A fan favorite is Starship Troopers. Unfortunately, we never did get a good series of sequels to this, but another one that really plays with tropes and propaganda films. It does this really cool thing. It's got a really interesting tone, and it's fun, yet it also has some really interesting social commentary. I like this one a lot for those reasons, because you can turn your brain off and watch it and just enjoy the craziness that ensues, or you can really put your thinking cap on and think about this one a little bit more. For that reason alone, this one is just one of the best on the platform right now. In fact, I'm wondering why I haven't listed it higher. If it's one of your personal favorites, let me know in the comments. Oh, and that's why I don't have it higher, because the rest of this list is pretty killer. 1984. Not only is it a classic book, but the movie is really, really great. It's a really great adaptation of the book. This is classic. Big Brother's watching. Totalitarian government has taken control. Nobody can make their own decisions anymore. Incredible story to tell, an important one to take in at some point in your life so you can sort of process it and figure out what it means for you. But it really shows what happens when freedoms are taken away. Really, really great stuff here. Really, really well acted. Really holds up today. As old as this movie is, it really does still hold up today. Not just because of the current, world climate, but the movie was so well done, it doesn't look like it was shot that long ago. If you like this type of content, definitely click that subscribe button and also click the bell icon, because Subscribing doesn't mean anything unless you do that. So that way you get notified when I put new videos out, just like this one. For the only recent repeat on this list, Logan's Run, I mentioned it once recently. This is a classic 70s sci-fi movie. Crazy, crazy visuals. It looks very, very dated, but still, the crazy unitard costumes, and it basically takes place in the far future. The world's population has almost been decimated. The last living civilization lives in this giant bubble-covered city, and it is a perfect utopia. Everything's perfect. Everyone's happy. Everyone's having sex all the time. Everyone's well-fed. Everything's perfect, except at age 30, you have to sacrifice yourself. So you die at age 30, and the story is about people that go on the run and try to escape this civilization. Really, really impressive stuff for the time. They've been trying to remake this for a number of years. There's always a new director that's going to take a stab at it. It is one of those movies that will always be great for when it was made, but it also could really do for an update just to expose a new, younger audience to it. Plus, this story would really lend itself to some really cool modern visuals as well as these old classic ones. So if you want to watch a classic 70s sci-fi movie, it'd be hard to do better than Logan's Run on Amazon Prime right now. THX 1138 is one of George Lucas's first projects ever. It stars Robert Duvall, again in this far, crazy future where humanity lives in this facility. Everything's provided for, everything's taken care of, but it also sort of becomes a prison of sorts. Very, very simple movie visually, but you can see where George Lucas really got a lot of ideas and stuff for Star Wars, which he did almost immediately after this. Really, really impressive, but small sci-fi movie. If you've never seen this one, it is an absolute classic. I highly recommend it. There are a couple of versions. I actually like the updated version. There is a remastered version that has a couple of small but extra things that I actually think help lend to the story, whereas adding CGI and stuff to these classic movies tends to sort of degrade it and seems pointless. This is a rare exception where they did a couple of subtle things, aside from just making it look polished and brand new. They do a couple of things that actually I think do serve the environment and the atmosphere without really taking away from it and without you really realizing that they're there. So that said, watch this one if you've never seen it. It is a classic. It's a must-watch, which is, why it's on the list. Westworld. Popular HBO show. I like the show. I think it's actually really good. But I've been a fan of this movie for a really long time. I actually had an English teacher in high school turn me on to this movie. She spent an entire class talking about it. She was an absolute dork and just wasted most of our time talking about things that she liked. But this one stood out to me. It's actually written by Michael Crichton, who is most famous for a lot of things, but probably mostly Jurassic Park. But he also directed this. Yul Brynner plays the man in black, the antagonist who is mercilessly hunting down James Brolin, who looks exactly like Christian Bale in this movie. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. But I really, really like this one. If you're a fan of the HBO show and you never bothered to watch this classic movie, do it now on Amazon Prime. I highly, highly recommend it. A movie that has come up on my list over and over and over again has just been added back to Amazon Prime, and that's Event Horizon. This is such a good space horror movie. It has its cult following. It seems to pick up new followers every couple of years. It's got a growing following. Really, really cool, really morbid, really creepy stuff, but incredibly well executed. Done from a director who maybe got not a fair shake and really didn't get to have the career that I think he would have been capable of. But regardless of any of that kind of stuff, Event Horizon is just a terrifying space horror that really deserves this number 2 spot on this list, only because A Clockwork Orange is currently on Amazon Prime. Just an amazing work of science fiction. The novel that it's based on is an amazing classic science fiction story, incredibly told by Stanley Kubrick. Now, this is a dark story, but the future in which it takes place is such an important vehicle for the way the story is told. That's what works so well. Things come full circle in this one in ways that you rarely see on film. And it's just a marvel to look at, despite the fact that you're witnessing horrific, heinous acts on the part of Malcolm McDowell and the other, band of villains in this movie. It's so gripping and so arresting to watch some of this. I absolutely love this one. It is stomach turning, but it's also impossible to look away from it. I love this movie. I love everything Stanley Kubrick does. This one stands out to me. Let me know what from this list you will be watching, but I'll keep making videos like this as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this episode, and you will see me on the next one. Real quick, if you'd like to support the show, if you like what I do here and you watch and you get value out of it, meaning you get to see a lot of movies you wouldn't have otherwise seen, maybe I save you money from renting things by letting you know what's available, and you want to support me, you can do so a number of ways. One is Patreon. You can become a supporter for as little as $1 a month. You could buy a t-shirt. They're all designed by me in the Teespring store. Links to both of those in the description. And some Patreon supporters, depending on what tier they're in, get a free t-shirt as well. So those are great. But also just sharing the video. If you know someone that you think might benefit from getting recommendations like this, share the channel with them. Encourage them to check it out. I appreciate all of the views, all of the likes, all of the comments. I still read all of them. But again, thanks for your support in whichever way I can get it.